Guys, this is going to be the third video where I talk a little bit about spiritual and energetic attacks and just kind of add on to what I was saying and discussing in earlier parts. Um, and yes, I realize I've been changing scenery every video that I do. I used to do videos with my talking face, and I'm not doing those right now. I have my reasons. Maybe again in the future, but right now I've got some nice incense going and just trying to create a calm effect. This is one of my little tables here in my room. As I said, my mother and I are sharing an apartment right now, and it's a very difficult situation. We don't have a lot of space. It's a tiny one-bedroom apartment. She sleeps in the living room. I am in the middle room, which has the only bathroom. I need to do some dusting too. Jeez. It has the only bathroom, and so she's constantly having to come through my room, and we're just all on top of each other. And it's, pretty interruptive if one of us wants to concentrate on something or whatever. But anyway, to add on to what I was talking about earlier about spiritual and energetic attacks, it's the way it makes us feel. It's not just the little things. A bee comes in the window and distracts us, or somebody rings the phone while we're filming, or the phone starts locking up, or all these physical things that can happen. And there's way more than that, but it's the way it makes us feel. Okay. And I talked about how this energy wants to bring the collective frequency down, make us feel miserable, wants us to give up, get us so irritated and so distracted that we feel defeated. And it wants us to also feel self-conscious. Fear and humiliation. It's a big, big deal right now, those types of energies. And that's part of what's going on in the collective. All this trolling and harassment in the comment sections on social media, and everybody's being mocked and picked apart, and all of this is going on. So it's like a lot of times we are afraid to acknowledge what we're really going through. You hear people say, well, just reach out. For God's sake, don't hurt yourself. Are you okay? Don't store it. Just reach out if you need any. But when push comes to shove, it's very few fucking people that are really able to go the mile with that. And I don't blame them. I'm emotionally mature. I understand people are busy. They're not our personal therapist. They're not there to be our personal emotional waste baskets and dumping grounds. That's not, no. But I'm just saying, a lot of times when push comes to shove, we're on our own to figure out how to survive energetically, how to survive trauma and struggles and spiritual and energetic attacks, and how to survive emotionally. And having the proper tools, training, awareness on all that is critical. And oftentimes, though, we're afraid. We're afraid to reach out. We're afraid to tell anybody, especially if we've done it to ourselves. This is a big one, y'all. Right? If it's a situation, for example, like the situation I'm in, living here with my mother, the last 3 years, my partner died of throat cancer. I lost my job. My children are grown. I had a mental breakdown. I started losing all hope. I went through a devastating period of grief. All kinds of things were happening to me. Spiritual awakening, timeline shifting, uploads, downloads, you name it, recalibrating. I was basically catatonic for a while. It was rough. But I ended up having to come back and stay with my mother, who I love, but who is a narcissist. The last place on earth, the toxic home that I grew up in with my mother and father the way they were, and how I fought so long and hard to get out of there and grow up and become my own woman and raise my own children and in a different way and do so much healing work. After all of that, to have to get to middle age and lose my way and fall down so hard and have no choice but to come stay in a little apartment with my mother, who, again, I love, who I really want to heal with. She's 81 years old. I want nothing but peace and joy for her last years, but she's very toxic. She's always been very toxic, very narcissistic, and it's difficult. And so the bottom line is, though, I landed myself here. You get what I'm saying? My choices, my failures, whatever went on in my life, I am definitely a person who takes accountability, responsibility. I know how I got here. I know about choice and consequence. I'm not going to sit up and be, woe is me, how did this happen, poor me. It's not that. But here's what happens. When we back ourselves into corners and our decisions in life, even if we had the best intentions sometimes, y'all, sometimes it just doesn't work out. It's either our soul plan or our soul contract had other experiences that we needed to go through, something else we needed to learn. Sometimes it just doesn't work out the way we planned it. Our ego planned it, right? And sometimes our choices land us in situations that suck, that are so terrible, so hard to fucking deal with. And of course I look on the bright side. I always count my blessings. I'm not ignorant. I know what not having gratitude can do to a person. Of course I have gratitude. Of course I have humility. Of course I'm thankful I'm not on the street. Of course I'm thankful for any little grain that I have in my life. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge the parts of me that hurt, the parts of me that are angry, fed up, disgusted, traumatized, not happy with my situation. That's okay. And what I'm saying to you is that's part of an energetic and spiritual attack. It's an energy that gets in on you and wants to make you ashamed, wants to make you fearful of acknowledging your truest of emotions, which you have to do if you're going to heal. You cannot heal. You cannot get into a higher vibration and frequency if you don't acknowledge the ugliest, most raunchy, most disgusting, hurtful, horrible, offensive parts of yourself, the things that anger you, the things that disgust you, but we fear this. We fear, and it wants to get in on us and keep us in that terror and in that shame. Because it knows until we acknowledge those things, until we feel them, express them to somebody, put them in a video, write them in a song, post them on social media, put them in a photograph, create something with them, go to therapy, whatever you got to do, but get them out of you. Acknowledge them, that you actually feel that way. Boy, and that's the hard part, isn't it? It's gotten harder for me as I've gotten older, and I don't know why. I kind of do because of my circumstances. And the spiritual attacks got a lot harder on me. They just did. They ramped up, man. They ramped up like hell on me. But for most of my life, I was outspoken, creating, putting it out there, confronting it all. It doesn't like that shit. It doesn't like that things are going to be exposed, that people are going to become more aware, more conscious, And so that's a big, big thing is I understand sometimes, guys, we got ourselves in a certain position. We made a certain choice and it led to a certain thing. And now we feel like we can't tell anybody. We have no right to complain about it. We have no right to be feeling so angry and so lost, so bitter and resentful and sad because we did it to ourselves, right? We have nobody else to blame. I understand that. And it's good to put this in perspective, balance it out. It's good that you're aware. that it is your responsibility, our own personal responsibility for self. Nobody else made these choices for us. Now, there's always somebody in our circumstances that contributed to our lives somehow, but ultimately, we are always responsible. We are always responsible for our choices. Okay? And I know there are circumstances sometimes beyond our control, but you get what I'm saying. But to me, guys, that is a form of spiritual and energetic attack. When so many different ways it uses lower vibrational people who can't fight it off, pulls them down, plays on their emotions, people who are depressed and lost, addicted, suffering, mental illness, going through things, and they can't get out, they can't get any help, and they either refuse to seek treatment or refuse to develop themselves, or they can't somehow for some reason. Lower vibrational entities and energies, earthbound, darker spirits and energies, and it uses fucking people. And it's really tricky. They say the enemy is tricky, and one way that is because it uses people we love. You think that a lot of times the enemy, the spirit, that energy that wants to pull you down, that doesn't want to see you succeed, you think that's some monster with long teeth, claws, and red horns on its head? Or it looks like some bad guy? No. Most of the time, how this shit gets in on us is it uses people we love, people we adore, people we trust, people we want to keep in our lives, people we want to keep close. It uses them. If they have a weakness somewhere, if they have not dealt with all of their core wounds, and that's a whole other video, how this shit gets in and how to protect yourselves from it, how it feeds on your core wounds, shit you forgot that happened to you, shit you forgot you were mad about, shit you forgot that you felt betrayed about. Those are core wounds, and they're hiding, stored in you. And it feeds on that shit any way that it can. So, all of this, the way it's using people on social media to attack every comment section, every video, everybody that's creating, everybody that's speaking and being vulnerable, here they come like cockroaches to make you feel ashamed, fearful. Oh God, I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be attacked. They're going to laugh at me. They're going to tell me, well, it's your own fault. So I can't reach out. I can't express myself. I forget the guy's name. I think he played on True Blood. He was an alcoholic. And I've known a lot of alcoholics in my life. But he had relapsed so many times that he was ashamed. The very last time that he relapsed on alcohol, he was so ashamed to tell anybody. Because I get it. People invest in us. They invest their time, their energy. We don't want to let them down. We don't want to wear them out. We don't, I get that. And I get why sometimes we're afraid. But this is your life we're talking about here. This is our life force. This is our, it's life and death. No matter how many times you fuck up. You've got to keep advocating for yourself. You have to. You have to keep crawling, clawing, reaching, not being afraid, conquering that energy of fear, conquering that energy of shame. Shame and fear, two ways that the enemy controls you. The enemy, the entity, the dark energy, lower vibrational frequency, call it whatever you will. Demons, earthbounds, whatever. That's the way it keeps you under control. Keeps you terrified to acknowledge what you're really feeling inside. And until you do, you can't heal. You can't ascend. You just can't. You might skip along, but there's no skipping these processes. You might think you're skipping along and, wow, my life's looking great and I'm skipping over all the hard parts, but it catches up. You're not authentically healed. It's just bandages, you know. You can't skip the dirty, hardcore shadow work, the facing and acknowledging of the shit you feel. And it's hard for us to admit it sometimes. Damn, I really feel that way, but I don't want to. I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to talk about trauma. I don't want to feel bad against my mother. I don't want to feel bad against my father. I don't want to feel these terrible, disgusting, horrible things that I feel. I don't want to talk to anybody about it. Hey, I get it. They're going to shame me. They're going to laugh at me. They're going to judge me. They're going to say that was 30 years ago. They're going to say, oh, you're weak. They're going to say, you know, it's going to be all this shame. And this energy wants to keep you terrified. And I get it. You don't want people pointing fingers saying, oh, man, aren't you past that? Don't you want to be happy? All you do is dwell on the past and what happened then and what you feel. Listen, some people never got to feel their trauma ever. They are just now feeling it for the first time since it happened 40 years ago. That's right. So let's back that shit down a little bit. And when y'all hear me getting certain tone and certain energy, that's just my spirit. This is my outlet. Somebody had the nerve to come up on one of my videos the other day talking about, well, you don't have to be such an ass about it. I'm like, oh my God. This person has gone and gotten directly, personally triggered as if I mentioned their name directly or something, and I don't even know them. Triggered at my energy, my release, my videos that I use to release my negative energy. Positive, negative, powerful, weak, vulnerable, whatever. That I use these to pour my energy into so I can survive emotionally. So that my energy can be good and clear for my family. So I can be a better person in my everyday life. That's what this outlet is about. It's not about influencing people to be assholes. It's not about being arrogant to the public. It is my outlet. It is my release so that I can be a better human being, acknowledging all of the facets of my personality, the angry ones, the sad ones, the betrayed ones, the vulnerable ones, the funny ones, the happy, joyous ones, all of them I embrace. It's not so much about influencing others with what we're saying or the actual content. It's about the example of us grabbing onto a tool, grabbing onto an outlet and doing something positive and productive with these emotions, with what's inside of us. That is admirable. That is positive. You know, but I do tend to get a little intense and a little riled because I've had such a hard time getting this stuff out over the last few years, and it's been building in there, you know? And so, let me loop back. Where was I? Talking about the spiritual and energetic attacks and how ultimately, yes, it wants to keep you afraid, in shame, fear of reaching out, fear of expressing and acknowledging, okay, I get it. You're a person that only wants peace and joy and calm in your life. You've worked on yourself. You've taken personal responsibility. You want peace with your family. You only want to love your mother, father, siblings, partner. You only want to have wonderful days, and you don't hate anyone or anything like that. But you've got some deep, dark shit down inside of you that happened to you. And even though you love them, and even though you want everything to be all great and fine, it can't be. Because every time you get around them, it's stirring up something in you. You're feeling something, a sickness, an anxiety, a rage. Your skin starts to burn. You're feeling what? Triggered. I know everybody hates that word, but you're feeling triggered by them, feeling some type of way. Because 40 years ago, when they did that shit to you as a little kid, you didn't get to say nothing. You were powerless. You didn't get to feel anything. You couldn't cry for yourself. You couldn't rage about it because you were too busy trying to survive it. And a lot of motherfuckers don't understand stuff like that, but I do. You were too busy trying to survive that trauma and go to school every day and just fucking stay alive, right? Then you grew up. The family you were with then taught you not to talk about it, shamed you, manipulated you. You grew up, got busy, had kids, started chasing relationships, doing whatever you could to cope, bury that trauma as deeply as you could if you didn't get therapy. I'm very grateful that I had a therapist come into my life at 13 years old, but this is what happens to some people, guys. All right, and then life goes on. They've been married, they're raising family, they're working their asses off, and they cope the best they can. If they don't have therapy, if they haven't had someone to guide them and help them pull up all that trauma and rewire it, sometimes it comes out in their marriage. Sometimes they repeat the abuse on their kids and family. Sometimes they become drug addicts, alcoholics to numb it. They cope in different ways. But when it does finally catch up, for some people, when they finally break down and go to therapy, or this shit catches up, it's generally middle age when it catches up, y'all. When we have to slow way down. When we can't run as fast anymore. We can't stay at the clubs every night anymore. We can't stay drunk every day anymore. We can't run and go. And things just change, right? And this is usually when it catches up with people. And it can nearly kill you. I mean, it's that overwhelming depending on how long you've been running from your trauma, how severe it was, how much of it there was. But this is what happens. So for those people that mock and shame and finger point, and that happened 35 years ago. Why didn't you say anything till now? Well, that happened a lifetime ago. Why are you talking about that now? Why didn't you ever say anything before? Why are you, somebody remarked about Madonna, who did a first interview in 9 years with Jay Shetty recently, a 2-hour interview. Brilliant. Just brilliant interview. I'm going to do a video about that myself. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I listened to it twice, the whole 2-hour thing while I'm working. And in the last half of it, she brings on her spiritual teacher, her Kabbalah teacher. Fantastic interview, okay? It was very moving to me. Madonna's always been a deep person. People just don't know it. But anyway, somebody was mocking her saying, yeah, she talks about her abandonment like she's a kid or something, like she's still a child. I'm just like, man, you can count on that. You can count on lowest vibration, lowest consciousness imaginable in the comment section to mock, to shame, and that's those spiritual attacks I'm talking about. That's those energetic attacks I'm talking about. Wants to make anybody who is feeling their trauma, doing what they're supposed to be doing, working through their spiritual ascension process, working through their psychological processes, moving trauma, doing shadow work, healing work, creating, speaking out, wanting to quickly bring them down as quickly as it can. And it's using as many fucking people as it can get into and grab a hold of. So guard your fucking frequency. Guard your energy. Sharpen your mind. Prepare yourself, because it is a war. It is a war. But that's part of it. That's what it wants you to feel like. Because you were so busy trying to survive all those years ago that now that you're 40 or 50 or 60 or however you're 35 or however old, all of a sudden now you're starting to remember some of that stuff and feel some of that stuff. And that's how trauma works. You're not crazy. You're not alone. You're right on time. Everybody has a different soul path, and it's, you're not behind, put it that way. You're not behind. You're right on time for your particular soul path, for what you need to learn, go through, experience, and share with the world at exactly what time in your life you need to be doing that, you are right on time. So feel that trauma as you need to feel it, as it comes up, express it. And yes, they are going to, when feeling the pain and the betrayal and the agony of what someone did to them as a child, feeling it and thinking about it and processing it for the very first time as a 40-year-old, they are going to cry like a baby. They are going to regress. I have literally had friends that I've had to walk through that process of regressing, of going back through their trauma as a child that they had never faced. And they completely regressed into almost back into infancy. It was hell for me to deal with because I'm not a psychologist. I've studied a lot of psychology. I've had therapists off and on for 30 years, but this was someone I loved very deeply. He was a severe alcoholic, not long for this world, and had gotten to be about 40 years old. He had raised a family. He had stayed busy, but he was carrying a lot of trauma that he never really got to tell anybody. He never really got to rewire or get any help for. And I gave him a safe space to do that, to move some of that trauma, move some of that energy, tell me those stories, unleash some of that burden. But it also meant that it regressed his ass back into a child. And, alcoholics tend to do that anyway, but that's another video. Yes, people feeling their trauma for the very first time, some of them at 30 and 40 years old and older. So that's that. I hope people, that can give people a little bit of deeper insight. And yes, they will feel it like a child because in a certain way, you don't have to be as severe as the guy I was talking about, but in a certain way, when you relive something, you are reliving it. You are going back to that age. So duh, that person making that snide ass comment about Madonna, what the fuck they expect? Madonna's doing what the fuck Madonna needs to be doing right now for her own spiritual path, honey. So, yes, when you write about your trauma, when you write about your life, when you tell your therapist or your friend, when you release it, your body is going to start reliving it. You are actually going back to that age temporarily and releasing. You're getting to do what you did not get to do back then. They took that from you, but you can do it now. So you go ahead and cry, scream, get angry, stomp, mourn for your childhood if you need to. You are not weak. You are not stupid. You are healing. You are following right along your spiritual evolution and ascension plan, just as you planned it before you came here. You are learning right on time. You're evolving and growing and expanding your consciousness right on time. The fear, the shame, I'll continue this in another video, but that's a big deal. Yeah, it wants to block us from acknowledging. Like it wants to keep us in denial. Like that we're even afraid to admit to our own selves that we feel that way. Because, right, we want to be good people and we want to be happy and we want to love our mom and dad and we just want to have good days and cook food and have parties and enjoy life. Of course that's, we don't want anybody looking at us like, oh, you hate your mom and dad? You're such a miserable, hateful human being. They want to keep you not even wanting to admit to yourself that you feel overwhelmingly angry and disgusted and triggered and fucking, you don't hate your parents, but you hate what the fuck they did to you. You hate how they treated your siblings. You hate that part of them, that demon that's got a hold of them, you see, or your friend or your partner or whoever abused you or betrayed you. So don't let people bulldoze you. You know what the hell is up. You don't hate anyone. And you're not a bad human being, but they want to keep you where you believe that you are. Where you believe that you can't have all of these multiple feelings and multiple processes going on at once. And they're all very genuine. You are a genuine heart and soul. And you mean everything that you're saying and everything that you're feeling. It's very genuine to you. And I know that can rip your brain apart, dealing with trauma like that in a toxic, dysfunctional family system. But that's where it wants to keep you. It wants to keep you afraid, confused, terribly ashamed that you can't even acknowledge it to yourself, that you feel that way about your mother, that you feel that way about your father, that they really piss you off and you're disgusted and you're a completely different person than they are. Because at the same time, you also feel sorry for them. You love them. You don't hate them. You don't want any harm to come to them. You feel sorry that they had to go through so much in their life and they didn't get to learn some of these things like you have. They didn't get to move a lot of their trauma like you have. But you can't save them because they're narcissistic, or they are bound in mental illness, or set in their ways now at 70 and 80. And, by the time you get to middle age, a lot of them are set in their ways, and that's just that. And you have to learn to navigate. So, guys, I'm a little over 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and clip this one, but this has really done me good. And thank you for letting me get that off my chest and release that energy into the collective. And I hope that it can encourage somebody. And it helps me to do this because it reiterates it for me. It reinforces it for me because I need it too. And when we teach, we learn. Every time we turn around and teach something, talk about something, we learn, okay? So I'll get more into it in another video about how hard it can be hard to reach out to people sometimes. And sometimes we do have to rely on our own energy to save us. But we've got to get past the fear, the shame that is so prevalent in society today. It's all around us. Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to be judged. And oh, I'm afraid, believe me, there are those of us that we see you and we see what you're trying to do when you're feeling your trauma. When you are going ahead and acknowledging, even though you don't want to, how angry, resentful, disgusted, brokenhearted, betrayed, how you felt back then. And we know why you're doing it. We know you are a very powerful individual to even be able to acknowledge those things and face them, and that you're working on transmuting and alchemizing those things into something more powerful for yourself and into something higher vibrational and higher frequency. But it takes doing the dirty work first. Let them point, let them scoff, fuck them. Protect your energy. I'll see you guys in the next one, okay?